Hey there. Welcome to a little bit something different. This is actually a remake of an old video I did. I did a video on this book on my other channel, the OcpTV, but I thought I glossed over the book and a lot of the main problems with it. I glossed over some things. There's some things I really did not really mention and did not go as in depth on as I could. And I really think I should do a very in-depth review of this book because it really does deserve it. Because it's a disappointing, shitty book that really needs to be torn apart so people don't waste their money on this. Because this is the type of book that is misleading advertising, it's a ripoff, and it's written by a guy who I swear to God just should not be fucking writing books about action movies. There are some instances where there are some of his opinions that I agree with. By the way, this is just my opinion. This is just my thoughts. I respect the guy's opinion on some things, but I don't have to agree with him. And I definitely don't. And I paid money for this. And so this is, and I'm doing a second video about it because I think it deserves it. And mainly because I'm inspired by my good friend Matt's video he did on horror films in the 1990s. Because this book has very similar problems to that book. And to be honest, uh, this book pisses me off more. Anyway, action movie A to Z. Um, it's written by Marshall Julius, who I swear to God should be serving Orange Julius instead of writing a book about action movies because for the most part, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Um, so it's a film that has a picture of RoboCop 2 on the cover. Awesome. RoboCop from RoboCop 2 and like one of my favorite action sequences ever, like one of my favorite opening sequences of all time. And in this book, he does not like the film. He bashes it. He tears it apart. I'm like, "Wait a second. Why the hell would you have a picture of RoboCop 2 on your cover if you don't like the fucking movie?" But this is let's just get started with this shit. For some reason there it opens up with a quote by Bart Simpson. I'm not making this shit up. You want results? You have to go to the Schwarzenegger, Stallones, and to a lesser extent the Van Dams by Bart Simpson. Why does he have this quote here? Because inside this book he shits on the majority of Schwarzenegger and Stallone's films and Van Damme. Why does he have a quote in there? You got to go to them. But I won't, because I don't like those movies. I don't like them. Fuck. Anyway, okay, you start off with Above the Law. It gets 2.5 stars. Mainly, he says it's entertaining. There's a great deal of mayhem here to enjoy, just nothing to get your blood boiling. But he gives it 2.5 out of 5 stars. Like it's a shitty. It's not even average because because Seagal's not a great actor and a screenplay which takes itself too seriously and a feeble supporting cast and a director intent on adding depth to a plot which doesn't deserve the effort. There isn't that much depth to the plot, and you don't want depth? I, that's the first time I've ever heard something like that. Oh, it doesn't need. I don't want depth in a plot. I mean, is that a problem? Especially if it's handled well? I thought it was done well and Above the Law. AWOL, Lionheart, 2.5 stars. And pretty much he says that I'm just looking here. He mentions about Abdel Quissy, it's a posturing killer, freaky sideburns, and a taste for ripping people in half. It basically does a synopsis of the plot, and then basically this is his review. Elsewhere, be prepared for a deluge of ham-handed sentiment. I didn't think it was ham-handed. I thought it was genuine. A desperate pretty woman style shopping scene. What? And yes, another trademark Jean-Claude Van Damme butt shot. So what? It's Van Damme wants to show his butt for the ladies. I don't fucking care. Although AWOL suffers from a chronic lack of direction and general shortage of imagination. What do you mean lack of direction? The direction is fine. Sheldon Lettich does a great job directing it. What did this movie need? Some avant-garde, amazing direction? I mean, it does. The direction is fine. It's not even that bad. A general shortage of imagination. Where's the imagination going to be in Lionheart? It's a tournament fighting movie. Like, what the fuck? Is Van Damme going to fight, uh, Abdel Quassi is going to fight him in fucking space? A space station? What the? Is he going to throw in some fantasy element in there? That wouldn't make any sense. But he says the good news is that no matter where you are in the movie, the next no-holds-barred one-on-one fight scene is never far away, but you'd best be prepared for one encounter to look much the same as the next, because variety is a spice this film makes stew without. I think there was plenty of variety. Van Damme fought different types of opponents who had different abilities and different strengths. They didn't seem like the same fight to me. Kicked the one guy through a window, beat the one guy, kicked his ass in the swimming pool, fought the one guy in the parking garage, the guy wearing the kilt, and then fought, Abdel Quassi. What? Where is the same fights? I don't. But Action Jackson, that gets 3.5 stars. 3.5 stars for Action Jackson. Because Action Jackson, which is really, in my opinion, disappointing and forgettable, named one action sequence in that is better than anything from Above the Law and Lionheart. And then this guy is also a fucking moron. Why? This is how he talks about Action Jackson. Long before RoboCop patrolled the streets of Detroit, an earlier breed of law enforcer tore off his shirt, pumped his pecs, oiled down his bod, and played the hero game. Jericho Jackson was his name. Excessive forces only game, a mighty macho Superman, capable of apocalyptic destruction and breathtaking feats of obnoxious behavior. I hate to break it to you, Mr. Julius. I think you should have fact-checked before you wrote this book. Because RoboCop came out in 1987. A full year before Action Jackson. So all this fucking writing you did in the beginning here makes no fucking sense because RoboCop came out in 87. RoboCop did come out before Action Jackson. What is this bullshit where Action Jackson came first? That's stupid. He says the humor in it is unintentional, which is bullshit. The film's humor is definitely the film has its tongue stuck firmly in its left cheek the entire film. If you're on the prowl for some good, dumb, fun, chaotic fun, you found the perfect B movie. It's not even really that good of a review. These aren't even good reviews. They don't even make any sense. I mean, this is just I'm at 8 pages in. It gets worse. The Adventures of Don Juan, 4 stars. Why the fuck is Don Juan in this book? What? The Adventures of Robin Hood, 5 stars. Why are these in they're classic movies, I understand that, but they're not action films. Those aren't action movies. Aliens, 4. Okay, cool, alright. Good. American Cyborg, Steel Warrior. He hated it. Gave it 1 star and said, beyond the meaning of life, the existence of God, and the purpose of infomercials, there was a 4th all-important question which boggles the mind when seriously considered. If a tree falls in a forest, and there's no one around to hear it, how come it takes 5 grown men to write a single Terminator knockoff? Okay, alright. Okay, kind of interesting, a beginning. I'm not saying American Cyborg Steel Warrior is, like, the best thing ever, but it's not a 1-star film. I've seen much worse films in it. Joe Lara does a decent job as a lead. There's some good bits of action. And I actually thought it was a pretty decent Terminator ripoff. I didn't think it was that bad. And the only thing that really bothered me was the stupid twist ending where Joe Lara is like, oh my god, he's a robot too. But I thought, Boz Davidson did a fine job with the screenplay. And I actually liked John Ryan. And Joe Lara did his own stunts. And, I've seen a lot worse. American Ninja, 4 stars, because as I like American Ninja. I do. But American Ninja is not better than Above the Law or Lionheart. It just, as much as I like it, I'm not going to rank it higher than that. And it's not as good as Aliens. American Ninja 2, 4 stars. I'm surprised, but I mean, I'd probably give it that rating. Armor of God, haven't seen it yet, but it gets 3 stars. Army of Darkness, 3.5 stars. Why is Army of Darkness in a book called Action? Army of Darkness is not an action film. Army of Darkness is a horror film. Army of Darkness is a sequel to Evil Dead 2, or a sequel to Evil Dead. It's a part of the Evil Dead franchise. It's more of a comedy horror film than it's not even an action movie. Like, be consistent at least with your fucking book. You were paid to write this shit. Assassins, 1 star. Not that bad. Not a big fan of the film, but it's not a 1-star movie. Bad Boys, 2.5. Yeah, because Bad Boys is worse than Action Jackson. Bullshit. Batman, 1989, 3 stars. This is just a mediocre movie. He bitches about the movie for like 4 paragraphs, and then really basically what he does, he doesn't really bitch about the movie. He just talks about the whole huge big boffo big deal that it was when it came out, and then talks about the story, and then he says the downside. Keaton, miscast and awkward, lumbers around in a cumbersome suit, weakening the character almost as much as the screenplay. Keaton? He fucking bashes Keaton. What? Keaton is miscast and awkward? No! I respectfully disagree with you, sir. Miscast and awkward? Bullshit. Keaton is Batman. Keaton is the best Batman to date. He was great as Batman. He really nailed the character. He nailed the dark psychological problems that this character has. Batman is, I mean, he really did a great job portraying a character that wasn't really shown in the right light until 1989. He did a great job showing the two sides, the dual side of Batman and Bruce Wayne, of showing what separates the two characters, the tortured soul. And he's miscast and awkward? I don't get that. And that he lumbers around in a cumbersome suit. That's not Keaton's fault. That's because the suit they were only able to do what they were able to do with the suit. The suit. They could not make the suit the way that they designed it in 1989 something that he could move around super fluidly in. So what the film did is they, at least to me, worked around it the best they could. Origins are changed for convenience. Burton has a Joker killing Bruce Wayne's parents. Who cares? I don't care. It's not that big of a deal. Long established characters are needlessly revised for the sake of the plot. Trusty butler Alfred makes errors in judgment and doesn't seem anywhere near as handy as his comic book counterpart. Why? I thought Michael Gough was great as Alfred, and did he need to be a mechanic? Did he need to do that shit? Did he need to be super handy? He's his butler. He does a good job playing his butler and being a good confidant for Bruce. And some of the special effects are none too special, particularly Derek Medding's Batwing. Expensive plastic miniature, which looks on screen like a cheap plastic miniature. I disagree with that. I thought the Batwing looked fantastic. But he praises a Prince and entered first production design and Jack Nicholson and Danny Elfman's score. He's saying the film is a 50-50 proposition. No, it's an amazing film. It's triumphant, and it's without a doubt one of my favorite films of all time. So I definitely respectfully disagree with him on that. Batman Forever, though, 3 stars. Like, it's as good as Batman. But Batman Returns, well, it gets 2. And he basically just bitches about the movie for fucking forever. And mentions 3 Men and a Baby as an example. Oh, Batman Returns made money, so did 3 Men and a Baby. What does that have to do with anything? There's nothing to do with anything. Absolutely not. And then he even says, like, well, Batman purists are most likely to be most upset. I'm like, I'm a Batman fan. I wasn't pissed off about Batman Returns. And I hate that word, too. Batman purists are most likely to be upset because I'm one of them. I'm a Batman purist, and Batman Returns was just insulting. So, he says, maybe this sounds petty and slight to everyone besides dire Bat fans, but there's more. Nobody wants to hear from your diehard Bat fan, I'm a better fan than you. Bullshit. Nobody wants to hear that. Battle Beyond the Stars, 3 stars. Okay, all right, I give it more than that, but the Beastmaster. But second, why is it even in here? And why is even Batman in it? I don't even call Batman. Batman's kind of an action film, but it's more of a comic book movie. It's a comic book fantasy action. I guess I could do action. I'd buy Batman and Batman Forever, Batman Returns more than fucking the Beastmaster, which is also in this book, or Battle Beyond the Stars. Battle Beyond the Stars is a sci-fi movie. It's not an action film. The Beastmaster is a fantasy film. It's not an action movie. I'm not going to write a book about action films, and I'm going to talk about Conan. And that's also in here, too. What is it? Your Hunter of the Future in here as well? Does he have a special place for those Tor movies? Best of the Best 2, 2.5 stars. I definitely disagree with that. And where's the review for the first movie? I guess nowhere to be found. John Woo's Better Tomorrow gets 3.5. Beyond the Law, 1. Never seen the film, so I don't know what to say. The Big Boss, Fist of Fury, 3.5. Big Trouble in Little China, 3. Here he says, do you like your pizza with everything on it, or are you strictly cheese and tomato? Certainly no stranger to the cheese, but just as hungry for every other ingredient on the menu as director John Carpenter. First off, use cheese, and therefore by using the fucking word cheese, which is when you reference cheesy or cheese when it comes to movies, I guess that's my trigger. It's gonna set me off in a fucking rage. Fuck cheese. Fuck cheese when it comes to being included in talking about films. It makes no fucking sense. The explanation for it, the definition, bounces back and forth. It's vague. Some people say it means cheap. Some people say it means lame. Some people say it's no budget. Nobody ever really fucking really comes up with the distinct definition of what cheese means when it comes to being related to film analysis. Stop using the fucking word cheese or cheesy when you're talking about movies. If you want to say it's lame, say it's lame. If you want to say it's cheap, say it's cheap. Fuck off with the cheesy shit because it doesn't make any fucking sense. I don't understand why this still happens. I mean, I like Mike Nelson's Movie Mega Cheese book, and he does reference cheesy, but where the fuck did this shit come from? It needs to end. It doesn't make any sense when you're talking about a movie. The only time I want to hear about cheese is when you're talking about mac and cheese. When you're talking about mac and cheese or food that has cheese in it or cheese whiz, then you can get back to me. But please refrain from fucking using the word cheese or cheesy when you're talking about a fucking movie, because it's a movie. It's not processed dairy. So he has a problem. He thinks it's cheesy, and for some reason he enjoyed it. But he said it's high energy stuff, bold and colorful, Dumb and Dumber, with a jokey screenplay that doesn't know when to stop and a director that refuses to put on the brakes. Screenplay was excellent, and it was a lot of fun. And John Carpenter doesn't need to put on the brakes. In fact, John Carpenter and Kurt Russell should get into the Jack Burton's truck and run your ass over. How about that? That would actually be good. Should have went back in time somehow and ran your ass over before you wrote this fucking book. Bird on a Wire, 1.5. I don't think it's that bad. It's a pretty fun movie with Goldie Hawn and Mel Gibson. But I guess he thinks it's a misguided star vehicle with a formula plot, and it's shitty because, Mel Gibson and Goldie Hawn together. And he just doesn't like the two actors. And so that's his main reason why he hates it. Black Belt Jones, 1 star. Black Cat, 3 stars. Black Eagle, 1. okay, cool, alright, you know. Every once in a while, a blind squirrel is gonna find a fucking nut. Black Rain, 3. Too low for me. Blind Fury, 3.5. There's another one. Once in a while, a blind squirrel's gonna find a nut. He found one here, and then Bloodsport gets 3 stars. 3? Action Jackson is better than fucking Bloodsport? No, I don't think so. Blue Thunder, 4. Alright, cool, alright. I look at that more of a thriller, but I guess so. I mean, Braddock Missing Action, 3. Breaker Breaker, 2.5. He seems to not like Chuck Norris either. Broken Arrow, 1.5. What? What? I said, goddamn! Goddamn! Damn it, Julius! John Travolta and Christian Slater slug it out in John Woo's second U.S. misfire, a die-hard in the desert adventure which passes inspection on the action front but blows it big time with a senseless plot, overblown direction, and a trio of characters who care nothing about. Nope. Don't agree with anything. Don't agree with a single word of that. It's not a Die Hard in a desert movie. Where do you get that from? It's as far and away from Die Hard as you can possibly get. I don't know why you would even say it's a Die Hard in a desert movie. They don't even have the same similar plot line. What is there in common between Die Hard and Broken Arrow? I mean, there's terrorists, I guess, but I don't get it. Where's the fucking similarity? Other than that, and it's an action movie. So it has great action, and that's the problem for you, because the plot's kind of over the top. It doesn't make it over the top. It's a fucking action film. It's not a documentary. Even Die Hard isn't that realistic. And even its plot is kind of senseless at times. Boil the story down, what have we got? Stealth bomber pilots. Vic, Travolta, and Riley Slater are chosen to test his top new secret toy, but Vic's bored of playing by the rules, so he tries to kill his young gun partner, crashes the plane, grabs his nuclear cargo, and makes off with his henchmen buddies. Eager to save the world, Riley heads out after him, hooking up with Ranger girl Samantha Mathis, so that he too has someone to talk to. As directed by Woo, Travolta lays on an excess of sledgehammer cool, as corny and overplayed as the Slater's pre-annual Jack Nicholson impersonation. Cough. Travolta is awesome in this. He's great. He's having a blast. Would you have a problem with that? Do you have a serious issue with that? And I didn't think that Christian Slater was doing his best Jack Nicholson in this film either. Especially not this movie. Neither much make of an impression. Travolta's not worth booing. Yeah, bullshit. You know what's worth booing? You. Boo! Boo, Marshall Julius. Boo! Slater's not worth cheering. Fuck off. Come on. And while some of the action sequences are technically impressive, explosions fill the screen as Woo trashes a variety of trains, planes, and automobiles. It's hard to get excited when you don't give a hoot who lives or dies. I have a problem with that when there are movies that I don't care about what happens to the characters, but Broken Arrow is not one of those films. So that's why I don't agree with a single fucking word this guy has to say. There's plenty of gunplay and offer and some truly nasty deaths, a wild underground mindset, blah, 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 blah. It's strange and disappointing, and the action is mostly earthbound, while the plane itself barely makes 10 minutes into the movie before falling to pieces. But considering this movie is meant to be a film about stealth bomber pilots, so he has a fucking problem with it not taking place on a plane the entire movie. I didn't want that. You're so limited to what you can do. I like the fact that the plane crashed and then they had to deal with a nuclear weapon and you had that suspense, and then it was a nice cat and mouse game between Deke and Riley. I love that. Doesn't mention anything about the awesome fight at the end or the great score by Hans Zimmer. Nope. Nope. Oh, the plane. The plane. They weren't in the plane. Probably loves executive decision. Probably gives it like 5 stars or some shit. Bronx Warriors, 2.5. A fucking post-apocalyptic a movie. Why is that? I mean, barely an action film, but okay. But that gets a higher rating than fucking Broken Arrow, The Bronx Warriors. A film that I think was released by Troma. I think I could be wrong, but fuck. Bulletproof with Gary Busey. 1 star. I think it's better than that, but okay. Chain of Command with Michael Dudikoff, 2 stars. Definitely disagree with that. The Chase, 2 stars. Charlie Sheen, disagree with that. I'm not going to go through every single one and read like every reason why he doesn't like it, but there's some ones that I'm definitely going to cover. I had to cover Broken Arrow. I mean, I didn't even go in depth on that with the last video. I had to do that. Because, come on, what is that shit? City Hunter, 2 stars. Cleopatra Jones, 2.5. Cliffhanger, 4.5. Okay, cool. Alright. Surprised. But Cobra gets 2. And let's go through this one, shall we? Detective Cobretti drives a flash car. Flash car? To fucking steal Barry Allen's car? I didn't know the Flash had a car. You want? Do you even bother to proofread this fucking thing? Was it too hard for you to put a Y at the end of Flash? I think you mean flashy car, not a flash car. I don't know what the fuck a flash car is. Cobra doesn't drive the Flashmobile. Wears expensive shades and chews on a toothpick. Chews on a matchstick. So you fucked up there as well. He's a tough guy with a death wish and a smart mouth, a lawless lawman who's crazier than the bad guys who routinely sends to the morgue. They call him Cobra. We call him Sylvester Stallone, but either way, he sure ain't Dirty Harry. He slurs at the beginning of the movie. There's a burglary every 11 seconds, an armed robbery every 65 seconds, a violent crime every 25 seconds, a murder every 24 minutes, and 250 rapes a day. And then he basically fucks with this. And it says, added to which this fine piece of work contributes a killing to every 11 seconds, a stereotype every 65 seconds, every 25 seconds, and infinite number of mentioned membranes along the lines of, this is where the law stops, and I start. Good sense has no place here. Because it's a fucking entertaining movie. It's got one-liners. But you love fucking Commando. Later in this, he gives Commando 5 fucking stars, but he hates Cobra, and Commando is just as fucking silly and over the top, if not even more so than Cobra, has all these kind of stupid same kind of one-liners that he fucking thinks is stupid and silly here. I mean, that's the thing. That's why this book pisses me off, because it's so inconsistent. Even his opinions are inconsistent. I mean, how can I even take this guy's opinion seriously? How would anybody take his opinion seriously on these movies? If he's going, I love Commando, 5 stars, but Cobra's like, oh, this is cliched and stupid, and then Stallone is saying stupid shit, and what? There's a serial killer on the loose, a hard-working, axe-wielding maniac known as the Night Slasher, yet for some reason Cobra suspects that there's more than one psycho at work. There was originally supposed to be. And there is. It's not just one guy. Did you pay attention to the fucking movie? It's not just one guy. It's a whole cult of killers. It's a whole cult of people. I mean, blame Mark Canton then for fucking gutting the movie before it was released, but it wasn't just the Night Slasher. He killed a lot of people, but he had a lot of accomplices. So that's why Stallone feels that. That's why Cobra feels that way. It has a good reason to feel that way, too. Because there's only one man, but he basically bullshits and says that, oh, but our hero feels this way because there's only one man alive capable of such slaughter, unaided, and it's him. Bullshit. Besides, why send Cobra up against a single villain when he can take on a whole gang of nutters? There's no mystery here, though. There's a lot of awful lot of death and destruction. It doesn't need to be mystery. Was it mysterious about who Scorpio was in Dirty Harry? I don't remember it being that mysterious. I think the audience knew who he was eventually, pretty early on. Even if it was, I don't care. I'm not looking for murder and mystery. I'm not looking for Agatha Christie shit in an action movie. If it's there, fine. But I'm looking for action. I'm looking for one-liners. I'm looking for Stallone kicking ass, shooting people, fucking people up, and I get that and then some on Cobra. What is there not to fucking like? Oh, and by the way, he gives this movie 2 stars, but then gives Judge Dredd from 1995 3.5. The movie that basically is, I mean, Cobra is closer to Judge Dredd than fucking Judge Dredd is. But he's like, Cobra's bad, and Judge Dredd is great. With the stupid Rob Schneider. I am the law. And I knew you'd say that. That's what's so inconsistent. He bashes Cobra's lines and then fucking praises Judge Dredd. That has even stupider lines of dialogue. I knew you'd say that. The Stallone goes, I am the law! Law! Shit. There's no mystery here, though, just an awful lot of death and destruction, and from the obligatory convenience store holdup at the top of the picture through to, I thought it was a great scene. It's got a great one-liner, too, that you seem to hate. But you love other movies that have one. You love American Ninja 1 and 2, and those movies are fucking sillier than Cobra. Cobra is technically a canon film, so I don't understand. Did you just hate Stallone? Is that it? Don't worry, I don't care. I was happier. I probably didn't get the line totally correct because my brain is fucking on fire right now with anger reading this fucking book. So going back to this bullshit, okay, hold up, through to a rather tasty car chase in the middle. All right, at least he gave credit for the car chase, right on down to the wholesale slaughter of a gang evil biker types at the bottom. A movie to laugh at, not with. Cobra shoots himself in the foot by inviting further unflattering comparison to Dirty Harry by casting Rennie Santoni, who played Harry's partner, as Cobra's partner, while Andy Robinson, who played Scorpio, turns up as a typically sore-headed police chief. Film also does itself no favors by casting Brigitte Nielsen, who was Stallone's wife at the time, as romantic interest Ingrid Knudsen, and a witless witness who develops a serious case of the odds for Mr. Cobretti. Still, we're not talking rocket science here. Either you pick the film apart, scene by scene, or you enjoy it for the brainless nonsense that it is, worthless, violent, and kind of fun. Worthless? Fuck you. Kind of fun? No, it's fun. And if it was kind of fun, why do you give it 2 stars out of 5? This is the type of review you would think would get at least a 3-star rating. It's fun, it's kind of fun, but, you know, I'm such a Dirty Harry purist that I'm pissed that Rennie Santoni's in it, and so is Andrew Robinson, who play completely different characters, but I'm gonna bitch and moan about it, and I'm pissed that it dares to have fun with itself, it doesn't take itself too seriously, and I'm expecting it to be fucking King Lear or something. I don't know what the fuck this guy is thinking. I don't know what he expects. All I know is why did he get this job? Why is it only recently that there's going to be an action film book that's coming out like in April that is actually written by somebody who actually does genuinely appreciate the genre and actually knows what the fuck they're looking at? When they see a good action movie, they know when to spot it. And I know everyone has a different opinion, but when you have somebody who writes a book about action films and he's saying stupid shit like this and he's inconsistent with his views, why should anybody buy it? And why should anybody read it? Let's want to be fucking pissed off. Code of Silence, 2.5. Because that sucks too. The Soldier, 1.5. But Commando gets 5. Because comic book violence and, you know, is fine, but not in Cobra. He loves it, it's silly. And it's entertaining, and Commando says, you know, lines of dialogue, like, you know, when Arnold threatens Duke, you know, I eat green berets for breakfast, and right now, I'm very hungry, and he loves that, but he has a problem with, this is where the love stops, and I start, sucker. I don't know how you can love Commando, but hate Cobra. That's a question I don't think I can possibly fucking ask. I can ask it, I just did. But I can't possibly answer that question. Conan the Barbarian, 3.5. Too low. I mean, too low, and why? It's not an action movie. It's a fantasy adventure film. Conan the Destroyer, 2.5. Convoy, 3. Fucking Convoy! It's not an action movie. I don't remember there being a single action scene in that movie. It's mostly a bunch of truckers, and there's some chases, some stuff with cars. That's all I fucking remember. But Convoy's better than Cobra. Fucking Convoy? Convoy? The Crow, 3.5. Yeah, okay. Cutthroat Island, 2. Alright, you know, I saw the film again. I can kind of agree with that. Cyborg, 2. Disagree with that. I really warmed up to the movie. He says, this Van Damme puts on an impressive display and the action's pretty good, although it doesn't offer much in the way of variety. But If the action is good and Van Damme is fine, why is it a 2-star flick? What is up with this 2-star rating for a movie that, oh, it just because it's not original enough. It's not unique enough. It's a fucking action movie. It's a sci-fi action movie. I mean, it's not trying to have a plot within the plot. It doesn't need to. In fact, it did in the director's cut. I bet this guy would see the director's cut and fucking love it and be like, Albert Pyun is a genius. This director's cut is 10 times better than Sheldon in the original version. Call bullshit on him. They could call bullshit on the majority of this fucking book. Deadpool 2.5. Oh, his beloved Dirty Harry. But it's still better than Cobra. Deadly Pursuit, never saw it. Death Race 2000, though, gets 4 fucking stars. Death Race 2000, which is a Roger Corman production, and that's not even an action film. When does anybody call Death Race 2000 an action movie? Death Race, the remake, I could say that, but Death Race 2000 is more of a satire, comedy, slash, I guess, an action movie, but I don't really see much action in it. I guess it is an action film, but barely, and it's not a 4-star flick. Well, he just loves the plot about people get run over for points. Great. That says something about you. But yeah, he just loves it. I mean, welcome to the 70s, man. The jazzy music and psychedelic visuals, the blood and thunder on a budget and cast and crew are obviously up for anything. You have to be crazy to make a film like this, and nuts not to like it. And I close with the immortal words of hyperactive TV anchorman Junior Bruce, the best friend a Death Race ever had. Sure, it's violent, but that's the way we love it. Violent, violent, violent. But Cobra is fucking shitty. Death Warrant, 2 stars. Because he fucking hates Van Damme movies. But he praises Van Damme. It says he's good, but he hates his movies for some fucking reason. And never really, Van Damme's performance, is wanting. And there's some cool 101 battles. And there's some good stuff. But overall, it's a 2-star flick. And, boo. Death Wish, 2 stars. The original Death Wish, 2 stars. Almost interesting, almost involving. Here we have a movie that's not afraid to speak its mind, yet behind the gunplay and right-wing waffle. What the fuck is this waffle shit? Waffles? Right-wing waffle lays a schizophrenic urge to revel in the brutality that it claims to condemn, as winter pours over every grisly detail with the salacious enthusiasm of a tabloid journalist. Rarely dull, but way too serious for its own good, Death Wish relies almost entirely upon shock and sensation. After a while, the act wears pretty thin. I'm not the biggest fan of Death Wish. But even I'm not going to give it 2 stars. But, okay. It's okay. It's not insulting. Death Wish 2, 1 star, because it's really that bad. But Death Wish 3, my favorite Death Wish film, 2 stars. A note in the movie's publicity pack brought attention to the fact that special effects supervisor John Evans blew up 3 stores, 1 apartment house, 5 cars, burned down 3 buildings, and used no less than 3,500 rounds of ammunition in the interest of his art. Even more impressive is the fact that Charles Bronson hobbles through the entire movie but with a single impenetrable facial expression. Who cares? What? Does it need to have Academy Award-winning acting in Death Wish 3? While director Michael Winner sees to it that the movie avoids such distracting elements as charm, humor, pace, intelligence, subtlety, and style. It's Death Wish 3. It doesn't need to be intelligent. I'm sorry, I couldn't say intelligent. I said intelligence instead because this book fries my fucking brain cells. Pissing me off so much I can't fucking focus. It doesn't need to be a movie for fucking Mensa members. It's Death Wish 3. Pace? I thought it was fast paced. It's 90 minutes. How much more can you want out of as an action movie in terms of pace? Death Wish 3 is fast paced. It's fun. What do you mean it doesn't have charm and humor? It has plenty of charm and humor for me. There's some decent bits of one-liners. It's fun. It's got a big body count. Subtlety and style. It doesn't need to be subtle. It's Death Wish 3, for fuck's sake. Credit the production designer Peter Mullins, though, for building a convincing facsimile of New York in the heart of London's East End. And then the Delta Force, he gives that 2 stars. But he gives Delta Force 2 3.5. I'm just gonna let that sink in. because Delta Force is worse than Delta Force 2, which is a forgettable direct-to-video action movie that has like one good stunt, a shitty villain, and is nowhere near as good as the Delta Force, at least in my opinion. But, you know, yeah, whatever. Demolition Man, 4 stars. I'm surprised. Desperado, 4. Okay, alright. Diamonds Are Forever, 4. Diamonds Are Forever gets 4 stars. That's one of the weakest Bond films I personally have ever seen. That's surprising. I thought I wasn't the biggest fan of that movie because Sean Connery looked like he didn't give a shit, and then therefore I didn't give a shit either. Die Hard, 5 stars. Okay, all right. Die Hard 2, 3.5. Surprising. Die Hard with a Vengeance, 3. Really? 3 for Die Hard with a Vengeance. I definitely disagree with Dirty Harry, 5 stars. 5 stars. Look, I like Dirty Harry. But there are a bunch of I would definitely pick Cobra over Dirty Harry. That's just me. Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry. Not really an action film, but okay. There's like a little bit. It's more of a chase movie. Double Impact, 3 stars. I'm shocked. He finally gave a Van Damme movie 3 stars. I think that's the first one he gave 3 stars to. Everything else is 2 or 1 or 2.5. Like you could never really give Van Damme any credit. Dr. No, 2.5. You know, I said I had a problem with that the first time I did this video, but I really don't. It's not really that great of a movie, so I'm okay with that. Dragon the Bruce Lee Story, 3.5. I think it's too high, but okay. Drop Zone, 2.5. Because Drop Zone is better than fucking Cobra, by the way, and most of Van Damme's movies. Just thought I'd let you know. According to not Michael Winner, according to Marshall Julius, the action movie A to Z master, Drop Zone is better. Drunken Master, 4.5. Haven't seen the film, so heard good things about it. El Mariachi, 2.5. Empire Strikes Back, 4.5. Why is Empire Strikes Back in this? Empire Strikes Back is not an action movie. It's a sci-fi film. It's a sci-fi fantasy movie. Why is Empire Strikes Back? It's a good movie, but why is it here? The Enforcer, 3. I'd actually give that a higher rating. It's a pretty good Dirty Harry film. Enter the Dragon, 4. Actually gives it 5. Eraser, 3.5. Surprised by that. Escape from New York, 4. Alright. Didn't think it was cheesy. Escape to Athena, 2.5. Excessive Force gets 1. I think it's a better movie than that. Chuck Norris's An Eye for an Eye, 2 stars. It's a pretty good movie. What it is, Fair Game, 1 star. Yeah, it's a piece of shit. First Blood, 5. Fist of Fury, 3.5. Flash Gordon gets 4. Surprising. But I wouldn't list it here. It's not an action film. Flash Gordon barely has any action in it. It's more of a sci-fi movie. Sci-fi fantasy. Same with Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood is not an action film. It's a drama. It's a medieval period drama. It's not even a sword and sorcery flick. So why is Flesh and Blood in this? They gave it 2.5 stars, but it's not really an action movie. For Your Eyes Only, 3 stars. Disagree with that. I like that. It's one of my favorite Bond films. Force of One, 1.5. Agree with that too. I like Force of One. I think it's a pretty good movie. Force Vengeance, 2. That's like Chuck Norris. Fortress, 2.5. I give it a higher rating than that, but to each their own. But basically, he says it's got a lot of cool things. We've got dismemberment, we've got gouging, we've got exploding Borgs, bursting stomachs, lots of chaos, lots of cliches, laughs, guts, everything. In fact, but a brain. I thought it was actually pretty intelligent and pretty different, but okay. Alright. 48 Hours, 4. Free Jack, 1. Is this saying it's terrible? And he says that now you have to protect your brain and avoid Free Jack, or else. Yeah, just like you should protect your brain and avoid the action movie A to Z book, or else. Promotional Love, 3.5. I'm going to get flack for this, but I think that's one of the most overrated Bond films. Not a big fan of that. The Fugitive, 3.5. kind of low for The Fugitive. The Gauntlet, 3. GoldenEye, 2.5. GoldenEye, 2.5. 2 GoldenEye. Because GoldenEye is worse than Diamonds Are Forever. He says, in spite of these obsessive rumblings, even admits that I'm just being obsessive. However, those of you who can relax and enjoy the movie without picking to pieces might just enjoy yourselves. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to pick every fucking movie to pieces. The only time I pick a movie to pieces is if it doesn't really, and if it didn't engage him, cool. But if you were entertained by the action and you had a good time with certain stuff, then you shouldn't be picking it to pieces. That's not the point. I mean, there's criticism, and then there's nitpicking, and there's obsessiveness, and this seems like it's more of that. And it's impossible for you to really, honestly, in my opinion, be fair to a film if you're just gonna go into it right from the beginning to just pick it to tear it to shreds at every fucking chance you get. I mean, even with the worst movies, I at least try to go into it with, I at least try to go into it to see if it's gonna be, movies I've never heard of. At least I try to go into it and be like, okay, and everyone's opinion is subjective. But that's the thing here. It's like, why should anyone bother reading this or buying this book? Because this guy's just basically saying, well, if you're not going to tear things apart like I do, then you might like the movie. Maybe you shouldn't tear these things apart. Maybe you shouldn't be reviewing movies because it doesn't seem like it's a lot of fun to you. But light entertainment should serve you well, but as a Bond movie, it ranks well in the top 10. I disagree with that. I think it's an excellent Bond film. It's my favorite Brosnan film, and it's absolutely in my top 10 favorite Bond movies. In fact, it's in my top 5. Goldfinger, 4 stars. Not 5? Gunman, 3. Gunman, I like Gunman, but it's not better than Cobra. It's not miles better than Broken Arrow. Hardboiled, 3.5. 3.5? Too hard-boiled? What did he find wrong with hard-boiled? Slick, smart, and stylish, hard-boiled delivers a body count. Remember, kicking off with a frantic shootout, building momentum with an explosive warehouse battle, going all for broke, and a long and action-packed hospital finale, which our heroes discover a basement full of weapons, a building full of bad guys, and to complicate matters further, a nursery full of newborn hostages. Armed with a baby in one hand and a gun in the other, Chow plays it cooler than ice cream, and the movie follows suit. And that's his review. He doesn't even. I was kind of curious to see why he gave it 3.5 stars. But he doesn't tell you. So there's reviews like that, where you read it, and you're expecting all these other reviews, you've heard his opinions rather loudly of why he didn't like it. It was cliched, it wasn't smart enough, whatever. But with Hard Boiled, he gives it 3.5 stars, and he doesn't even explain why. Hard Target, 2. Yep. He says, predictably, he talks about the plot. He says, don't get too excited, though, it's not nearly as good as it sounds. It actually is, at least to me. And then he says, sadly, despite the talent involved, this glossy Jean-Claude Van Damme vehicle just doesn't cut it. Neither does this fucking book, and neither does your writing. Either in the action or in the story departments, and with the noted exception of Lance Henriksen's oh-so-evil bad guy, the weak and often silly thriller is both a dud and disappointment. Not to me. And you know that look on Van Damme's face? It's how I feel while reading this shit. Just be like... Predictably, he talks about the John Woo. John Woo handles the action well, although there's actually a little more to see here than a lot of chop socky and blazing guns. There's a problem with that? There's a lot more than just that, I'm sorry. And, maybe he definitely needs to check out the uncut work print version. Van Damme seems to have been endowed with supernatural powers by his director and able to perform some truly outrageous, often unbelievable stunts. Like the stuff that Antonio Banderas does in Desperado, which you gave 4 stars to, and a bunch of other movies that you give really high ratings to, that both have all these characters doing ridiculous, over-the-top, unbelievable stunts, because that's not real life. It's a fucking action movie. It doesn't take place in our reality. Guy pisses me off because he's so inconsistent with his own fucking opinions. He contradicts himself constantly. Constantly. Like, every page is just contradicting himself. Even in films that he praises, he ends up contradicting himself because he shits on these other movies for being over the top and having stunts that are unrealistic, but then praises other movies that have like insane over the top stunts. I mean, Horde Boiled gets 3.5 stars. No explanation why it's that low of a rating, but doesn't bitch about how unrealistic it is. But Hard Target, it's unbelievable. Van Damme must have superpowers. It's called style, which is something you keep wanting out of movies. Because you said that, Death Wish 3 didn't have any of it, but Hard Target has it and then some, and not enough for you. Not enough. If you like your action even remotely plausible, you're looking in the wrong place, though much of it is good for a laugh. It's not fucking worth laughing at, it's fucking badass. You know what? I got a quote from this movie. A quote from Hard Target to sum up with this guy. Marshall Julius, you're a fucking buffalo. At least we don't have to endure Van Damme's backside. You're taking an unexpected break from a busy schedule of unwelcome cameo appearances in the star's films. He has an unhealthy obsession with Van Damme's ass. I don't like seeing Van Damme's ass. I don't want to see Van Damme's ass. It's in the movie for like a second, like a little bit. Is it that big of a deal for you? That does it make you feel uncomfortable? Are you in the closet? Or are you what, you don't like, what is this? What is the problem? Are you not comfortable with your own sexuality? Why is this so much of a big deal to you that Van Damme shows his ass a few times in some of his movies? For a little bit. It's not like he has his ass hanging out and wearing assless chaps in any of these films. Wilford Brimley pops up as Chance's Uncle Duvet, an OIP Rambo wannabe who provides much of the film's unintentional hilarity. What is unintentionally hilarious about Hard Target? I don't get this. At least Henriksen manages to distinguish himself, providing the movie a little class, a commodity sadly lacking in our leading man. And what the hell is with that crazy hair? And that's how he ends the review. This is unprofessional. This is a hack job, and I can't believe this even got published. What's the hell with this? What the hell is with that crazy hair? It's like if some guy's shitty blog got into a book form. I don't know. It's a fucking mullet, and Chance looks awesome in it, and you're just jealous because you can't pull it off. Hard to Kill, 2.5. Bitching about Seagal because he's not a fan. The Hidden, 4 stars. Wow, I'm absolutely shocked. Highlander, 4 stars. It's okay. I don't know, really. I like Highlander, but I don't know if it's a 4-star flick for me. Hot Shots Part 2, 3. Why is an action? I guess you can have it in here, and I give it a higher rating than that. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, 3.5. Indiana Jones Temple of Doom, 4.5. That's way too high for Temple of Doom. Way too high. And that's another film that makes all of his other bitching and whining and moaning about these other movies for being unrealistic, for being over the top, for having silly screenplays, for all these other fucking things, and he gives Temple of Doom 4.5 stars out of 5. But all these other movies, unrealistic. Beijing USA, 3.5. Wow, I finally found a fucking Chuck Norris movie that he. Oh wait, he liked Delta Force 2 for some, and gave that 3.5 or 3 stars. But finally, wow, Beijing USA. I had to give it a higher rating than that, but that's just me. Iron Eagle, 2 stars. I disagree with that. It's a fun movie. I don't think it's that bad. Ivanhoe. Why is Ivanhoe in this? I asked that before in the other video, and I'm asking it again. Why is it here? Jewel of the Nile. 2.5. I actually agree with that. Joshua Tree. Army of One, 2. I don't agree with that. He says offering sex, violence, and odd gag here and there. Joshua Tree is an exercise in average, a passable yet entirely forgettable bit of business suitable for the undemanding moods. I don't think it's that forgettable, and I don't think it's just a passable film. I think it's actually a pretty good movie. Judge Dredd, 3.5. 3.5. I still don't believe it. I don't. I really don't. No doubt about it, and nitpicking aside, the movie packs one hell of a powerful punch. What? Think of RoboCop and you'll know what to expect. Don't compare Judge Dredd 1995 to RoboCop. Please don't. Don't even compare that movie with Judge Dredd. With Rob Schneider's fucking dumbass and Mr. Judgment Night, 3 stars. Think that's too low? Atmospheric but empty-headed. What is empty-headed about Judgment Night? Does everything but once again, Temple of Doom, 5.5, 4.5 stars. And all these other movies, Commando gets 5. Is that really a film that is got brains? Give me a fucking break. Fucking jerk off. Atmospheric but empty-headed, scary but superficial. I don't know what's superficial about the film. Judgment Night offers a palatable mix of violence, pyrotechnics, and good old-fashioned shock treatment, building up towards its extended department store showdown, which, like the rest of the movie, manages to entertain without really involving its audience. Bullshit. It involves me consistently every time I see it. And I wouldn't necessarily call it an action film either. It's more of a thriller. So I'm debating whether or not it should be even included in this book to begin with. Kickboxer, 2 stars. 2 stars. He gave Bloodsport 3 stars, by the way. Yeah, Bloodsport. I didn't really read what the hell he had to say about it, because I think that's, yeah. He gave it 3. He said, take the Karate Kid, cut the story and the characterization, skip to the climatic fight scenes, make them about 1,000 times more violent, and pad out the entire movie with more of the same, and you've got Bloodsport. Let the games begin. So, that's a problem? This is another review where he doesn't explain why he gave it 3 stars. It sounds like he likes the movie, but he doesn't explain why he gave it 3 stars. This guy pisses me off. I mean, I swear to God, if I saw this guy in the street, I'd punch him right in the kidney punch. The Killer, 3.5 out of 5 stars. King Solomon's Mines, gets a half star. King Solomon's Mines, which I really enjoy. I think it's a fun B movie. But no, he gives a half star, saying, could this film be any worse? Could the action be any less thrilling? Could the characters be any more annoying? No, no, and no. You haven't seen you haven't seen you haven't seen true shit. If you think that's one of the worst action films you've ever seen. Last Action Hero, 1 star. Now, this is bullshit. And like a lot of the stuff in this fucking book, and I know it's almost over an hour, but trust me, folks, I'm gonna go through this entire book. I gotta do it. It's a cleanse. But Last Action Hero, in my other review I did of this book on OcpTV, I talked about it, and I said, oh, Last Action Hero, I don't like the movie, so okay, but I think it's a bit low. Now I'm like, I like the movie, so now this is another one that pisses me off. Stateside reviewers are almost unanimous in their condemnation of Last Action Hero. And dashing from one action set piece to another, Last Action Hero devotes so much time to chaos and destruction that it forgets that a decent action movie should have at least some kind of story to go with it. There is a story. If you're not paying attention, there's a story. It's really a simple story to follow, and I like that. Danny is a fan of action movies. He gets the golden ticket. He got magic ticket. The magic ticket is a golden ticket too. It goes into the movie with Jack Slater, and he experiences the world of the action movie. He's in the fictional world of Jack Slater, and then fiction becomes reality when Charles Dance enters into our world, and then brings some of the other fictional characters into the real world, and then it's just a simple plot. Just because it's simple and straightforward doesn't mean that there's no story. And basically, the end of it, gist of it, is Jack Slater a fictional hero, has to save the world, the real world. He's not saving the fictional world anymore. Or in a way, he's saving both worlds. That's kind of interesting, I think. I think it was actually really unique. It's a film that I really appreciated with multiple viewings. There's a story to it. And that most important of all, it needs a hero that the audience can root for. I could root for Slater, but unfortunately, Slater is as wooden as he is invincible, and about as much fun to follow as the back end of a bus. Yeah, like this book. Yeah, it sums up perfectly how worth it and how entertaining and how engaging it is to follow this fucking book and follow this guy's fucking thoughts. Add to this failed attempt at self-parody, and it's clear that Schwarzenegger miscalculated the intelligence and devotion of his audience, making an action movie for kids which managed to alienate the entire planet. It's not just for kids. There's plenty of stuff for adults. Plenty of stuff. Packed with an overwhelming number of star cameos and movie in-jokes, this film is a film within a film. It's so desperately trying to be clever that it just isn't any fun. Not even Charles Dance, who certainly films the most entertaining villain, and there are several, coming as he does with an ever-changing novelty glass eye, sheds any light on this gloomy project. To be fair, this film has its amusing moments, a couple of decent lines, and some imaginative killings, but they all deserve to be in a better movie because it's a last action hero isn't worth watching, not even as a curiosity. Could John McTiernan, who directed this mess, really be the same man who made Die Hard? A running joke throughout the movie suggests that Slater can't die until the grosses are down. Well, Slater, the grosses are down, so push off. You push off. Off a fucking cliff. Last Boy Scout, 3.5. I'm shocked. Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, 2.5. Because Legend of the fucking Seven Golden Vampires is it's so much better than Cobra. It's so much better than Broken Arrow. It's so much better than fucking Kickboxer. And I skipped talking about Kickboxer. But you blame me? I mean, if I read, I swear to God, my head's going to explode after I get done with this video. Let's go backwards. Let's talk about Kickboxer. Alright. Should you decide to accept this mission, lads, and prove your mettle by watching the movie from start to finish, best brace yourselves first for a typically iffy performance by Brussels' finest, a particularly horrifying disco dancing sequence, and, well, a rather nasty hook up the arse scene, which will bring tears to your eyes. And then he says, often the movie seems eager to send you to sleep. Kickboxer? Who's bored by watching Kickboxer? Did he watch one of the sequels by accident? And where are the reviews for Kickboxer 2 or 3? This book came out in 1996. It doesn't have an excuse. You could have reviewed Kickboxer 2. But yeah, movie seems eager to send you to sleep. A big screen volume of mediocre characters, bargain basement production values, cheesy soft rock sounds. Fucking cheesy. And he used it with music. And with the Kickboxer soundtrack. Which I think is actually pretty awesome. Corn-fed songs include Never Surrender, Fight for Love, and the classic Roll with the Punches. He fucking shat on Never Surrender? He shat on Never Surrender? It's cheesy. Corn-fed. Speaking of corn, I like to stick a corn on the cob right up your fucking ass so that it pops right out of your fucking mouth. And stick another one right up there so that it pops out your eye sockets so that you can't fucking write anymore. Because you can't fucking see the keyboard. Sorry, I know that's intense, but fuck. God damn it. Hopeless misdirection. A bland fight scene here. Hopeless misdirection. A bland piece of nothing, entirely reliant on intermittent action. A chop-socky fight scene here. A grotesque feat of endurance there. And all of it building up to the one and only reason for seeing this movie in the first place. Better still, why not fast forward the first hour a bit away, but just watch the good stuff. Like, you know, you should just flip through this fucking book, or tear it in half, or fucking eat it. Or use it as fucking toilet paper. Fucking Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, 2.5. This is better than fucking Kickboxer. Leon, 4.5. Lethal Weapon 5. Okay, fine. Okay. Lethal Weapon 2, 4. Lethal Weapon 3, 2.5. I think it's that bad. License to Kill 3. I like License to Kill. I think it's a good one. But, 3. Surprised you didn't give it 1 or 2. Live and Let Die 4. I like Live and Let Die, but 4. Bit too high. Living Daylights 1.5. GoldenEye sucks. Or it's not that bad, but I really don't like it because I'm a Bond purist. Living Daylights 1.5. Working on autopilot, director John Glenn cranks out a passable if unremarkable collection of action set pieces. At best, this is an average 007 adventure, moderately entertaining, rarely dull, and fairly slick, but Dalton, his hands tied by overcautious screenplay, is simply no fun at all. I think Dalton is fantastic. He's my favorite Bond. I admit it. It was the first Bond film I ever saw, so maybe there's a little bit of that, but it's not a 1.5-star flick. There's some great stunts. There's some great Bond, gadgets. I mean, it's 10 times better as View to a Kill. And he doesn't even say it's that bad, but he gives it 1.5 stars. He doesn't like Dalton that much. I don't like Timothy Dalton. I don't think he's any fun. So 1.5 stars out of 5. But the other stuff I did like. You're just overweighing some problems you have with the movie way too heavily. It's not a fair rating. Lone Wolf and Quay 2.5. Yeah. Should not be surprised anymore. Mad Max 4. Mad Max 2 The Road Warrior 5. Cool. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome 1.5 stars. I give it lower than that, but hey, kind of agree there. Alright. Madam Force 3.5. Man with the Golden Gun 2.5. Alright. Mark for Death 3. Wow, he found it's a call film he at least gave an average review to. Martial Law 2 stars. Masters Universe 1.5. Not the best movie in the world, but I wouldn't give it that low of a rating. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, 1.5. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, is as good as The Living Daylights, according to this guy. And Broken Arrow, by the way. And why is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the fucking movie in this? Why? I wouldn't put that in a book or action movies. That's a sci-fi fantasy film. I don't mind the film. It's a guilty pleasure. But I'm not putting a book in action movies. Mission in Action 3. Mission in Action 2, the beginning. 1.5 stars. Yeah. 1.5. I've repeatedly told you there's no escape. Oh, he just talks about more stuff about the... I don't know. What does he talk about? I don't know what the fuck this guy is talking about here. Just talking about little random recollections of the plot. So somewhere in the mix, you're bound to recognize Sumo lookalike Professor Toru Tanaka. Okay, what does that have to do with the review? Cheap, bloody, and brutal, part exploitation flick, obsessive cruelty and torture, part serviceable action here, with G.I. Chuck doing what comes naturally. Missing in Action 2, the beginning exists in that dark and scary place that only Chuck fans dare enter. Bullshit. Fuck off. He doesn't even explain why it's bad. He just says it's just bad. And only Chuck Norris fans should watch this. Then he reviews The Money Train. What the fuck is The Money Train? Oh, do you mean Money Train? Because I don't know what The Money Train is, because there is not a movie called The Money Train. Anyway, he doesn't like it. As usual. Moonraker, 1.5. I don't think it's that bad. Mortal Kombat, 3.5 stars. Wow, I am absolutely shocked. That's surprising. National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1, 2.5. Disagree with that. We're not talking classic here. I'm talking classic, because I think it's a classic comedy. It's hilarious. It's definitely a lot more fun and a lot more clever than your writing, that's for sure. Navy SEALs, 2 stars. I give it a high rating than that, because I love Navy SEALs, but Never Say Never Again, 3 stars. Because Never Say Never Again, the unofficial Bond film, is better than fucking GoldenEye. That forgettable piece of shit movie that I don't remember anything about except Sean Connery being old and playing Bond one last time, and then Kim Basinger. It's really about it. It's like one of my least favorite Bond films. It's boring, it's forgettable, and But he even says there's nothing to write home about. Although if you're a big Sean Connery fan, you'll enjoy this movie, warts and all. So he says like it's not really that great. But I love Sean Connery so much that I'm just gonna overlook all of its faults, even though I can't do the same for other movies and for other actors. New Jack City 3. New York. Why the fuck is New Jack City in this? I mean, that's if it's bad enough that these reviews suck. It's bad enough that his writing is inconsistent, his opinions are inconsistent. It's then you have this stupid shit like New Jack City. New Jack City is not a fucking action movie. No Escape, 2.5 stars. I disagree with that. No Retreat, No Surrender, 2. No Retreat, No Surrender, 2. 1.5. I don't even want to read why he says it suck. Because it's probably going to be the same shit. Is it realistic? Or it's cheap? Or he's not even going to explain why it fucking sucked. Why he didn't like it. Nowhere to Run, 1 star. Wow. Way too low. The action, when it comes, won't send you to sleep, but there's fairly decent bike chase in there too, but honestly, why bother? Had the screenplay been even remotely interesting and not the clumsy half-baked joke that it is, I didn't think it was that clumsy, and I didn't think it was that half-baked. Not nearly as half-baked and clumsy as your fucking writing. The Octagon, 2.5. The Octopussy, 3, because Octopussy is better than GoldenEye. On Deadly Ground, 1 star. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, 3. Only the Strong, 1.5. I think it's better than that. Excuse me, I just burped. Yeah, because this guy makes me want to puke. Our man Flint, 2.5 stars. Out for Justice, 3. Too low. Passenger 57, 3.5, because Passenger 57 is better than Out for Justice. It's better than Broken Arrow. And it's better than Cobra. It's better than Kickboxer. It's better than Bloodsport. It's better than Delta Force. No, it isn't. And I like Passenger 57. The Perfect Weapon, 2.5 stars. And he doesn't even do a fucking review. This one pisses me off. Because what he does is he just does some stupid, wannabe, clever shit where he just talks about words. He just takes words and then tries to define them and connect them to the movie. Fuck! Okay, let's get into this. Alright. Revenge. 1. Punishment or injury inflicted in return for which one has suffered. A desire to inflict this. Or opportunity to defeat, return the game an opponent who won the first game. Why the fuck are you giving me definitions? This is supposed to be a guidebook. This is supposed to be reviews or something. It's supposed to be a reference book. How the fuck is this going to be a good reference to anybody? If you're just doing some silly, stupid shit, trying to be clever. And you're not. Trust me. There's a reason why you probably haven't written another book. Because you're a shitty writer. Revenge. To be avenged or revenge oneself, the good satisfaction by inflicting vengeance. Revengeful. A boring John Carradine horror flick. Or a dreadful revenge or... what the fuck? I don't even know. I didn't even read... Jeff Speakman. Unshaven beefsteak. Unarmed variety movie tough guy. Hands, elbows, knees, and toes man. Ken Boy Karate Boy. Capable and incapacitated 4 muggers in 5 seconds flat. Perfect Weapon. The movie. Death and Destruction in the Name of the Justice and Entertainment. Exaggerated description of principal hero Jeff, played by Jeff Speakman. Jeff in first starring role. A one-off proposition, reasonable, enjoyable, loud and brutal, but not something you think about afterwards or ever want to sit through again. Bullshit. Perfect Weapon is awesome. I wish Jeff Speakman would break down your fucking door and beat the shit out of you. It's kendo sticks. With some wrenches. Alcohol. A principal ingredient in Molotov cocktail and a stimulant required to appreciate the perfect weapon. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. I don't need to be drunk. Perfect Weapon is not one of those movies you need to get plastered to fucking enjoy. It's an awesome fucking movie. Jeff Speakman kicks ass. It's fast-paced. It's fun. And do I need to mention it again? Jeff Speakman kicks ass. Because he is the perfect weapon. Police Story, 4 stars. Police Story 2, 2.5. Police Story 3, Super Cop, 3. Posse, 2 stars. It's a Western. It's not an action film. Predator, 4 stars. Predator 2, 3.5. Wow. Okay. Alright. But still doesn't explain why it's 3.5. He just says a lot of good things about it, but he doesn't really say what the problems are for why it was 3.5. It's a common thread. The Protector, 3 stars. Really? That movie? One of Jackie Chan's worst? That's better than Kickboxer. Better than Broken Arrow. Better than Death Wish. Death Wish 3. The Punisher, 1 star. Yep. Dolph's Punisher. Charmless and unimaginative. Goldblatt's live-action disaster looks cheap and thrown together. Big fat 0 on the screenplay, production design, and performance departments. I disagree with that. I think some of the production design is actually pretty good, and the screenplay is fine. And to make matters worse, the Punisher's trademark skull insignia is missing from the Lundgren outfit, which originally I thought was because of rights issues, but really what it was because the producer didn't really want Lundgren to walk around with a skull. Lundgren wanted it, the director wanted it, but the producer got involved and said no, because he wanted the film to be more like a traditional action movie, which I don't have a problem with. That's the least of the film's problems, which it doesn't have nearly as many as people say it does, to be honest, that doesn't have the skull. It's not like there is no skull in the movie. There's no presence of the skull insignia in the film. It's just not on his chest. It's on the knives that he leaves behind, which does at least give a nice little, at least a nod to the skull insignia. It's not like they completely forgot about it. I mean, so many people completely overlook that and act like the movie doesn't even give a shit about the skull. I mean, you need to pay a little bit more fucking attention, because there are skulls on the knives he leaves behind, his calling cards, and then if you look closely, the painted on facial hair, it is painted on that Dolph has, but it's done in a way that could have only been done that way because nobody's facial hair actually grows this way. So it was painted on so it could create what looked like a skull on Dolph's face. So the insignia, the skull, is his face. So he does have the skull. It's just on his face. It's just not super noticeable, but in a certain lighting you can see it. But the most obvious one is the calling cards or the skulls on the knives. That's not that big of a deal. He doesn't have the skull. I could barely even see the fucking skull on Ray Stevenson's ad. I think it's Ray Stevenson. I could be wrong. The fucking fat British guy in Punisher Warzone, the skull was all scratched up and shit. You could barely even see it. So yeah, I basically just shits on the movie. Further sign that this awful movie is incapable of doing justice to one of Marvel Comics' most interesting and most violent heroes. Disagree. It's a fun movie. The Quest, 2 stars. Because The Quest is as good as Kickboxer in this guy's opinion. And it's only a little bit worse than Bloodsport. Rage and Honor, 3.5 stars. Rage and Honor, a direct-to-video movie with Cynthia Rothrock and Richard Norton, which is enjoyable. But it's better than Bloodsport. It's better than Kickboxer. It's better than Lionheart. It's better than Hard Target. It's better than... Excuse this awkward edit. I got so excited that I accidentally pressed a button somewhere and stopped recording, which is not what I intended to do at all. But anyway, going back to Rage and Honor, 3.5 stars. Rage and Honor. So much better. It's so much better than Death Warrant. And Cobra, and Code of Silence, and The Chase, and China O'Brien, Broken Arrow. List goes on. Oh, by the way, I think he gave Black Eagle a 0.5 star. So he thought Black Eagle was as bad as King Solomon's Mines. Raiders of the Lost Ark, 5 stars. Predictable. Rambo's First Blood Part 2, 3 stars. Rambo 3, 3.5. Okay, alright. Rampant Fire, 4. Okay. Alright. Raw Deal, 2.5. Alright, okay. Red Dawn, 3.5. Red Heat, 2. Disagree. Red Scorpion, half star. Really? Red Scorpion, half star. Scraping the bottom of the barrel, entertainment, on the backside of B-movie schlock. All of it sounds like torture. That's because it is a heavy-handed flop. In fact, worth missing by all. Just like this book. A heavy-handed flop, worth missing by all. Red Sonja, 1 star. Not the biggest fan of it, but I'd probably give it a higher rating than that. Remo Williams, 3.5 stars. Surprised he gave it that higher of a rating, since he seems to hate a lot of these other Bond films. They're very similar to it. It's far from perfect, but loaded with potential. Is a one-off diamond in the rough. Okay, that's cool, alright. But I still don't understand why you gave it 3.5 stars. He doesn't really say that it's what makes it 3.5 stars. It just says it's far from perfect, and that's it. Then he does more of this fucking stupid wannabe clever shit for his review for Renegades. Trying to do fucking descriptions, trying to definitions of the movie. Stop being fucking clever and review the fucking movie. Return of the Jedi, 4.5 stars. Really? Return of the Jedi is better than Empire Strikes Back. Like, it's so much better than Empire. And it shouldn't even be in this list. It's not an action film. 3 star for Ricochet. 4 star for Roadhouse. See why I can't take this fucking guy's opinion seriously. He bitches about Cobra, bitches about these other movies for being silly and over the top and being unrealistic, but he's giving fucking Roadhouse 4 stars. I love Roadhouse. I'd probably give it a pretty high rating, but I'd be consistent at least with the other movies that I also really like. And if I like the movie, despite it being over the top and silly, I'm gonna like other movies that are over the top and silly, because why would I be the guy who's like, I love Roadhouse, it's good, and I love Commando, but fuck Cobra because it's unrealistic and silly and stupid. But fucking Roadhouse isn't? Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, 3. I get a high rating. RoboCop, 5 stars. Okay, cool, alright, you know. Cool. But RoboCop 2, the film that the cover is representing 1.5 stars. RoboCop did everything right. RoboCop 2 does everything wrong, just like this fucking book does. Okay, this book does almost everything wrong. It doesn't do everything wrong. I'll give you that. It does have some good things to say every now and then, but most of the time it's just no shit Sherlock stuff. That, you know, oh, Die Hard, 5 stars. You know, a bunch of other really familiar titles, and then every now and then he'll surprise you with American Ninja 2 getting 4 stars each, which another is really confusing. 4 stars each for American Ninja 2. Even though I'm bitching all these Van Damme movies and Hard Target, it's unrealistic. But American Ninja, I don't know what it's amazing. That's why this video is so long. It has to be seen to be believed. You have to fucking hear this shit. I mean, I didn't do it justice with my last video. I didn't even touch the tip of the fucking iceberg. Here we go, RoboCop 2. Alright. RoboCop did everything right. RoboCop 2 does everything wrong. It's as simple as that. No, it isn't. It's not as simple as that. In fact, for that, I think you just sealed the last nail in the coffin. Because I could be okay, you know, with some of your opinions where you're like, okay, alright, we kind of see eye to eye. But when you say shit like that, when you act all smug and full of yourself, that's it. It's the last straw. I'm not going to keep this book anymore. After this video is over, I'm giving this a goodwill. Or I'm throwing it in the fucking trash. In fact, I'm thinking about throwing it in the fucking trash. God knows this guy fucking deserves it. This is one of the most incompetent hack job fucking action books I've fucking read in my life. There's a few things that are good, but the good is far outweighed by the shit that is contained in this book. Inconsistent review opinion styles and concepts. Doesn't even explain why he gives a certain film a rating. Tries to be fucking clever, falls flat on his ass with stupid fucking definition shit where he's trying to be, oh, look at me, I'm so clever. I'm using Oxford Dictionary definitions and trying to apply them to the movie. But all right, I'm not gonna get off track because I don't want. I know what's coming next after RoboCop 2. It just, God. RoboCop 2 does everything wrong. It's as simple as that. Only the second time around, and already the series has lost its edge. How did the film lose its edge? How has RoboCop 2 like lost its edge? There's a kid selling drugs. There's kids saying this, swearing and robbing people. There's RoboCop shooting a fucking guy through the fucking eye. There's Kane, who's a drug dealer, who's selling nuke to people, and there's a scene in the beginning of the movie where a baby is in danger, and RoboCop, I mean, there's a baby in clear distance of gunfire. There's plenty of edge to it. How is RoboCop 2 not edgy? Duffy gets cut in half by Kane. RoboCop gets torn apart. Kane becomes Robo-Kane. I mean, where is this lack of edge? The humor is broader. The characters are weaker. The action is much less intense. I disagree with that. In some instances, I think the action in RoboCop 2 is a little bit better than the first one. I love the first film. Robo remains obsessed with his humanity. Psychos and businessmen continue to coexist in harmony. What are you saying, that wouldn't happen? You're saying that doesn't happen? And funny ads still play on TV, but the magic is gone. In the hands of Irvin Kershner, this feeble sequel lacks the courage of the first, willing to shock, unable to throw a machine made in Hollywood for premium disappointment. What do you get when you cross a mad scientist? A designer drug, and a brain of a psychopath? The answer is RoboCop 2, a monstrous cyborg with a habit to feed, and a bone to pick with Delta City's finest RoboCop. There are times when the movie doesn't stink, when the action rises above average, when a clever line manages the surface, but it's just not enough. After all, why waste your time with this one when you could watch the original instead? 2 was a loser. No, you're a loser. There you go. You're the loser. See, I didn't go into this video. I mean, I've been kind of a dick, but it's for comedic values, for comedic purposes. But when I make a review, if I was going to write this, I would not be condescending. I'm not going to be this stick in my ass type guy who's going to be like, it's just bad and it's simple as that. It doesn't do anything right. And then says later that it has some things that it does right. That's just shitty writing. You're a bad writer, Marshall Julius. And it's true. I'm not being condescending, and here I'm not being an asshole about it. I'm just saying the obvious. You're a bad writer. You're completely, I've said it and said it again, contradicts himself over and over again. He just say one thing and then says another. Be consistent at least. Be consistent with your shitty opinions. How about that? But it gets worse. It gets fucking worse. Do I really need to say anything more? He thinks RoboCop 3 is a lot better than RoboCop 2. He says, with all the usual elements fitting neatly in place, neither Creeps director Fred Dekker lays on a passably tongue-in-cheek adventure with some ropey, though reasonably imaginable special effects. The one to look out for is a Robo Rocket Pack, a flying marvel, which looks a lot like a giant tin opener. So you basically insulted the effect, but you're like, that's awesome. It's a positive, even though you basically called it a tin opener. You called it a giant tin can. Tin can opener, a can opener. At best, though, the movie's quite exciting, fairly slick, and perfectly watchable, but nothing to write home about, so adjust your expectations accordingly. What is slick about RoboCop 3? What is exciting about RoboCop 3? What is watchable about RoboCop 3? I'd like to know, other than the rocket pack scene, because it sure isn't any other shit with Evil Steve Martin and fucking Mako, stupid robot ninjas, Robert John Burke, Gold for backup. God. I don't understand. And I don't want to, because I think this... I would not want to understand why this guy thinks the way he does. I don't think he even knows why he feels the way that he does. He doesn't explain shit half the time. The Rock, 3 stars. Yeah. Too low. Ranch in the Stone, 4. I think it's a 4. Rookie. Fucking typo. He gives the rookie 3.5, but then he adds another 1.5. Fucking proofread your fucking shit. Proofread your book. What the fuck is that? Did you give it 4 stars? Is that what you just did? Rumble in the Bronx, 3. Runaway, 3. It ain't brain surgery, but it's a lot of fun if you're prepared to go along with it. Just try not to blow chunks during the slushy end credit snog scene. I wouldn't, because it doesn't last that long, and it's nothing chunk worth. Below chunk, it's nothing worth hurling over. Unlike RoboCop 3. Runaway Train, 3 stars. The Running Man, 4. Wow, I'm just... Okay, but still, you're still the guy who says shit about RoboCop 2. There's nothing good about it. And it's as simple as that. So if you're gonna act like that, fuck off. The Shadow, 2 stars. Disagree. Shogun Assassin, 4. The Shooter, never saw it, 1. Shogun Low Tokyo, 3. Surprised it got that high of a rating. Sidekicks, 2.5. Smoking the Bandit, 3. Too low for Smoking the Bandit. It's a classic. Sniper, 3. Soldier of Fortune, 4.5. Is that fucking Laser Mission? I mean, 1.5, not... Yeah, 1.5, 4.5. Laser Mission? Is that what Soldier of Fortune is, I think? With Brandon Lee? Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, it's Laser Mission. Gets 1.5 stars. Specialist, 3 stars. Too high. Speed, 5 stars. Okay. Be expected. Spy Who Loved Me, 4.5. Alright. Star Wars, 5. Why is that? That's not an action movie. Stone Cold, 2.5. And once again, he doesn't really explain why he gave it 2.5 stars. He talks about the plot, talks about some things, says some good things about it, but doesn't really say why it's a 2.5 star flick. From what, if you just read this review, you think he'd be giving it 3.5, 4 stars, but no. Street Fighter 2, because Street Fighter with Van Damme is as good as Hard Target in this guy's mind, and Kickboxer, and pretty much every other Van Damme film for the most part. Bullshit. And it's better than Broken Arrow, by the way. Yeah, because Broken Arrow gets, remember correctly, yeah, he gives that fucking 1.5 stars. Yeah, Street Fighter with Van Damme, with, oh, you're man enough to fight with me, is better than Broken Arrow. Street Night, 2.5. Oh, we actually bothered to actually do a review sort of thing. We've all seen it before, we'll see it again, but as Obnoxious Time Racer, Street Night does just fine. I give it a high rating than that, but it's just me. And 2 stars way too high for Street Fighter. Striking Distance, 1. I don't think it's that bad. Sudden Death, 1. 1? It's not that bad. It's not that fucking bad. He's just pissed that it's a Die Hard clone. That's his main fucking bitch. If it was only as funny as it sounds and not a dire plagiaristic knockoff. Sudden Impact, the Clint Eastwood one, Dirty Harry, 3 stars. Surviving the Game, 3. I like Surviving the Game, but it's not better than Red Scorpion, or Punisher, or The Perfect Weapon, or No Escape. The Taking of Beverly Hills, 1 star. 1 star. A B-movie with delusions of grandeur, Taking of Beverly Hills is so entirely lame and pedestrian that it does have a certain good/bad value. Although rather than search through the records of this turkey for scraps of entertainment, why not just watch a good movie instead? Yeah, but like, why don't you just read a good book instead of this? Because this isn't one of them. And read a book from a good writer who actually knows what the fuck he's talking about when it comes to action films. I wish my friend Matt could write an action movie book. Please. Please write an action movie book so, you know, people don't end up buying this shit instead. Thinking that this guy, Marshall Julius, is some expert on action movies. Tango and Cash. 3 stars. Once again, doesn't really explain why it's 3 stars. He says it's over the top, it's fun, have a good bad time. That's it. Tank Girl, 1 star. Too low? It's possible that fans of the original comic strip might enjoy what director Richard Howley has to offer, but for the rest of us, it's charmless bag of tricks at best. I'm not even the biggest fan of the comic, and I love Tank Girl. So, don't speak for everyone, please. If looks could kill, 2.5 stars. I don't mind the movie, but I don't think it's better than Taking to Beverly Hills. Full 2.5 star, full 1.5 stars better, or better than RoboCop 2. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, 3 stars. And once again, doesn't explain why it's 3 stars. Just gives it 3 stars. And thinks Terminal Velocity, which I don't mind, is better. 3.5. Terminator, 5 stars. Terminator 2 Judgment Day, 5 stars. Predictable. They Live, 3. They Live isn't an action film, and that's too low. Three Musketeers. Don't give a fuck about the Three Musketeers. They're not action, they're swashbucklers. 3 Ninjas, 2.5. Here's his Hall of Shame. His top 10 worst action movies. Number 1, King Solomon's Mines. No. Number 2, Black Eagle. Number 3, Bulletproof. Number 4, Death Wish 2. Number 5, Black Belt Jones. Number 6, Excessive Force. Number 7, On Deadly Ground. Number 8, The Punisher with Dolph Lundgren. Number 9, American Cyborg Steel Warrior. And number 10, Bird on a Wire. Dishonorable mentions. Braddock, Missing in Action 3, Conan the Soldier, Fair Game. Okay, but that should be in your top 10. It's fair game, for fuck's sake. Last Action Hero, Free Jack, The Money Train. You mean Money Train. Nowhere to Run. Not that bad. The Shooter, Striking Distance, and Sudden Death. Some of them I agree with, but most of them I don't. That's your worst? You haven't seen you haven't seen very many really shitty action movies then. You haven't watched any AIP action movies and incompetent productions. Thunderball. Thunderball, 2 stars. Which Never Say Never Again is a remake of, but the remake is better, okay? Time Cop, 4 stars. Wow, if I could actually gives Time Cop. It's the best Van Damme film, Dan. At least there's something. Doesn't make this book worth it, though. Time Bomb, 2.5 stars. Total Recall, 4 stars. Toy Soldiers, 3. Trancers, 3.5. Is that really an action movie? Maybe. Trespass, 2. True Lies, 3. 3. And once again, doesn't explain why it's just a 3-star flick. Well, here he is. He says, True Lies is at its best when it doesn't seem to be trying too hard. Occasional forays into slapstick and ultra-violence seem out of place and spoil the rhythm of the movie. And that's the only thing he really gives you to explain why it's 3 stars. Under Siege, 4 stars. Under Siege 2, 3.5 stars. Because Under Siege 2, Dark Territory, is like better than almost every single Van Damme movie. And it's better than Cobra. Universal Soldier, 4 stars. Okay. Beautiful Kill, 1.5. Good. Warlords of Atlantis, 2.5. Why is this movie even on the list? The Warriors, 3.5. Waterworld, 3. Because Waterworld is better than Cobra. Deadlock, 3.5. Wow, but Deadlock isn't really an action film. It's more of a sci-fi movie. Way of the Dragon. 2.5 stars. The Wild Geese, 3 stars. Willow, 2.5. Which I disagree with, and basically shits on it, saying kids should get the most out of this one, but the feeble ones should prepare themselves for an odd, intense moment. As for the rest of us, this is a textbook example of average, watchable enough, and reasonably entertaining, but predictable with it and entirely forgettable. Bullshit. Willow is anything but forgettable. Like your fucking book. You Only Live Twice gets an insane amount of fucking words, and just for him to say that it's 3 stars. Zulu, 4.5, which is not really an action film. So, there you go. I finished this fucking review. It's as long as it's going to be. And, sorry for the awkward edits. I hope you guys enjoyed it. In summary, I've said enough. Fuck this book. Fuck Marshall Julius. Fucking juicer up his fucking ass. He's just shit-stained motherfucker. Should not be writing fucking books about action movies. Majority of this, there's some things that, okay, alright, surprises. There's some things I agree with. But for the most part, it's terribly inconsistent. It's poorly written. It's got this whole attitude, like the guy who's writing it thinks like he's better than everybody, and his opinion is like the greatest one ever, and he's trying to be too clever, falling flat on his ass. He's condescending on more than one occasion. He doesn't fucking even explain why he gives certain films a certain rating half the time. And when he does give certain films lower ratings, his reasonings don't make much sense, because he gives other films higher ratings for that have the same problems. But he refuses to acknowledge them and acts like they don't exist. If you're gonna do one thing, you better do it. You know, if you're gonna play it one way, you better play it the other. I mean, if you're gonna, just be consistent. I mean, if it was just consistent, I'd respect it more, and I could disagree with it, but it's not consistent at all. And it's just a frustrating fucking book to read, and a frustrating book to look at. Just looking at it pisses me off. With this RoboCop 2 is worse than RoboCop 3 shit. And almost every movie you like, except for the really popular ones. And some of the other ones, yeah, I might give some good props for, but I'll give them lower ratings for no other reason other than fuck it. I don't want to give every movie 4 stars or 5 stars because I'm really picky. But, yeah. Go ahead. Make my day. Yeah, don't make a day with this fucking book. Don't do it. Don't do it. This is going in the trash where it fucking belongs. Fuck this book.